Hey movie fans, welcome back to After the Credits, where we break down the latest and greatest movies, including our favorite scenes, quotes, trivia, and even how we think it should have ended. Grab a bowl of popcorn and enjoy the show.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to After the Credits, and happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you. We are coming to you during a snowy, chilly day, joined again by my beautiful wife, Molly, to discuss one of her favorite holiday movies that at first I was reluctantly talked into watching pretty much every Christmas. And I was like, yeah, I guess I can watch this with you.
I never forced you.
But yes, you did. And then I ended up enjoying the movie. And now it's something that I look forward to watching with her every year. I think it was last year. It got to be closer to Christmas and we hadn't watched it yet. I'm like, hey, are we going to watch White Christmas? Like, yeah, we should.
Well, we had a baby last Christmas, and it was during COVID,
I forgot about that.
I think we didn't even watch it together. I think I watched it Christmas morning with the baby, but it's usually a Christmas staple especially going back to like my mom's time when she would watch it with her mom, and then she would watch it with us, and then when you move out, you're nostalgic and you just want to do the things that you used to do. So it's kind of become a thing with us to watch it during Christmas time.
Yeah. So the film that we are discussing and talking about right now is White Christmas. And you mentioned it's an old film. It's a very old film. You mentioned your mom watching it with her mom, probably when she was younger as well.
She probably watched it with her mom.
Yeah, and her mom's mom and her grandma's mother.
I was going to say, what year did this come out?
1954.
Okay.
Yeah, so the release date for White Christmas was November 15th, 1954. I don't know what other movies were coming out around that time. I doubt that we're going to know any of them, even if you bring them up.
I'm going to Google the fuck out of that.
Good luck, my man.
There might be a couple. I mean, that was like the golden age of cinema. You had
pretty much
a lot of classic people during that time.
And this movie was one of the first ones to use a different type of camera and a different way of filming it that made it
VistaVision.
VistaVision. Yeah, which is literally one of the taglines that they had for promoting the movie. It was like the first film in VistaVision.
Well, yeah, Paramount. This gets a little bit nerdy, but the Paramount. This is the first movie that Paramount used for VistaVision, and it was fucking crazy because the depth of the color is amazing, and you can see it when you watch this movie now. I mean, when you think of a movie coming out in 1954,
you don't think that
you probably think like it's going to be in black and white, or the colors are going to be like really dull,
grainy,
like grainy. This has like no grain.
Man, the blues
and holy shit, yeah, Bing's fucking eyes. I had to Google it because I had to look up.
Real?
Yeah, I had to look up to see if he was wearing contacts or something. No, that's just the...
Now, is that the VistaVision or is that his eyes?
The VistaVision.
It's
makes
a little bit of both,
vibrant,
but yeah.
He does have very, very blue eyes.
But movies that came out in 1954, you have the old school Godzilla, Gojira.
Was that the claymation one, or was that the
it was
claymation?
Anime?
Okay.
Yeah.
It had to be.
Yeah.
And then the original, the OG A Star Is Born came out.
Interesting.
With what's her name?
Barbra Streisand.
Barbra Streisand, yeah.
And then what else do we have that is a little bit noteworthy? Ulysses came out that year. I think that's a lot of them that I've heard of. Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh,
that's
nice.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Sabrina came out.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's all I'm seeing
some
here.
recognizable movies.
Yeah, definitely. And like Molly said, the golden age of fucking cinema. So
yeah. Yeah, that's
fucking cinema.
But I mean, this one didn't around this time. I don't think it really had much to compete with. So,
2000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1954.
Oh, really? That was a groundbreaking movie as well. So the director of this film was Michael, I believe it was Curtiz. Most noteworthy directorial job was Casablanca.
Oh, yeah, that's another good one.
Which is considered by a lot of people one of the greatest movies ever made. Or the greatest movie ever made. It's. I mean, here's looking at you, kid.
I was gonna say. I think that's
quite frankly, quite frankly, my gear. I don't give a damn. But yeah, that line is most notable from that. But like I said, it came out November 15th, 1954. You want to guess the budget for this back in 1954?
Oh God, I don't even know what a normal budget would have been like back then.
12 cents, Scotty.
Here's $50. Make yourself a fiddle. Make yourself a movie picture. Make yourself a movie picture. Make yourself a film and a movie picture.
Did you say fiddle?
I thought that's what you said.
I tried to say film.
So funny.
I tried to say film and I said film. Fiddledom.
Make yourself a fiddle.
Make yourself a fiddle, Sonny. So, God damn it. You know what? I cut out the. Oh wait, no. Okay, so the budget was $928,000, under
Just
$1
under
million.
$1 million.
Holy
which at the time
shit.
was a massive budget.
I was
Insane.
gonna guess $1 million, but I'm like, that sounds like it's too much.
You've been really close with all your guessing so far, so maybe stick with your gut. I think you'll go far, kid. So the opening weekend in U.S. and Canada, it made $566,045. Gross worldwide, look at this, big numbers, $1,099,207. So
they did just barely.
yeah, they made their money back for that. Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, if you consider
For the year,
Yeah.
not since all time, right?
right, exactly. So, I guess we got for the tagline is "It will warm you like Christmas punch." I don't know about you guys, but I've never drank Christmas punch. I'm guessing there's alcohol in it when it says it will warm you like Christmas punch.
I would hope so.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the tagline for this one. All the other taglines were all about the VistaVision. This movie being the first film filmed in VistaVision. It was a huge selling point for this. The synopsis we got is a successful song and dance team become romantically involved with a sister act and team up to save the failing Vermont Inn of their former commanding general. Their former commanding general he gets out of the military and buys an inn for skiers and stuff to come stay at during the winter and enjoy themselves. And it starts failing because it's not snowing. They don't have a white Christmas, and they put on a show to try to save it. So for the cast here, we have Bing Crosby plays Bob Wallace. We got Danny Kaye playing Phil Davis. Rosemary Clooney, the aunt of George Clooney, plays Betty Haynes. Vera Ellen plays Judy Haynes, Betty's sister. And then Dean Jagger, the other one that I'll mention, is the general in it. He's awesome. Honestly, when I first watched this movie, I was like, 50s movie. This is gonna suck.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other night we're watching it, and the last song, one of the last songs that they play when it's I Wish I Was Back in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting and watching it, and I was like, I'm kind of like messing around on my phone and going back and forth, and I kind of just stop and watch. And I'm like, you know what? This song actually slaps hard. I'm like, this is actually a really good song.
They're catchy.
Yeah, it's really catchy. What did you say? You find yourself.
There's sometimes like randomly in the summertime where I'll just get these songs stuck in my head. I'm like, well, that's for White Christmas and nowhere near Christmas time. Yeah, they're just really catchy.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
my go-to is when I hear someone say, like, I have a song stuck in my head. I just immediately, I'm dreaming of a what, and they go, fuck you. Like now now I don't have AC/DC's Thunderstruck in my head. I have fucking White Christmas, you
In
asshole.
July.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very, very recognizable. A lot of the songs in it are very recognizable for sure. Let's see here. So yeah, I mean that's really only our noteworthy cast. The rest of the people are not kind of just stand-ins or fill-ins or whatever. So why don't we talk about some quotes in this movie?
I want the quotes. You can't handle the quotes.
Here's our favorite quote from this week's movie.
All right, so Molly, you know this movie a lot better than I do,
Yeah.
and probably Dylan as well. What do you got for some quotes?
Well, there's some funny, and it's the way that they talk is so quick, so you almost have to like watch it a couple of times
Right.
to fully get the effect, or watch with subtitles on.
Well, we were talking about it the other night, how like we wish we could have been around that time just to sit around and hear him talk, because of some of the mannerisms or some of the turns of phrases that they use were just so different. And so, like, one of my favorites is like, it's like the sandwich scene where one of the girls can't sleep, so she goes down into the hotel and is gonna have a snack and everything, and he grabs a plate of sandwiches and there's a jug full of milk, and they're going to walk over the fire.
yeah.
He just leans
says,
over and he's like, "Grab the cow."
Grab the cow.
Bring
Yeah.
the cow. I was like, oh, he's talking about milk. That's crazy. I was like, I'm gonna start calling milk cow now.
Right.
That's insane.
It's just kind of weird how different the times are.
For sure.
I think
But-
that's what kind of helped me get through the movie a little bit is thinking a little bit, because
You have to.
I mean, had they just said milk, I mean, I probably would have started to fall asleep. But he said cow, and I was like, cow? Brain,
I'm glad
like,
that the cow saved you.
Yeah, well, the CPU in my brain like got cranked up a little bit, and that kept me going.
Yeah. So some of my favorite quotes is at the beginning, you know, after Phil Davis and Bob Wallace, you know, they're in the army, and Phil Davis basically saves him from this falling wall. So he feels obligated to do this like music and dancing scenes, and they become really popular in like they become really popular when they go out and they start producing their own shows, and they have their own like TV shows, and they become like a household name.
Right.
And so, but then Phil Davis is starting to see like, man, I'm getting fucking tired. Like, we're working too much, even though he's the one that wanted to do all of this. And so he's trying to basically push Bing Crosby's character to find a girl and settle down.
So that they don't have to continue their show and
so
he
that
can
they
rest.
can take a break, basically.
Right.
And so he's trying to introduce him to all of these showgirls that are in all of the different, you know, shows that they do. And a lot of these girls are pretty fucking dull and just kind of ditzy as fuck. So some of the best quotes come from when they're kind of arguing about it. And so, you know, they're talking about finding a girl and settling down. And Bob Wallace says, well, I'll get around to that one of these days. And then Phil Davis goes, my dear partner, when what's left of you gets around to what's left to be gotten won't be worth getting whatever it is that you've got left. Which, if you don't sit down and think about it, you're like, what the fuck did he just say?
Yeah.
But when you break it down, you're just like, oh. Like, once you finally get around to doing what you want to do, it's not going to be worth it anymore.
Yep.
There's not going to be any girls that are going to want to settle down with you unless you got a lot of money. And he responds back pretty quickly with that. He goes, when I figure out what that means, I'll come up with a crushing reply.
Yeah, that was a good line.
Yeah. And then continuing on in that same conversation, Wallace goes, you don't expect me to get serious with the kind of characters you and Rita have been throwing at me. And Davis goes, well, there's been some nice girls too, you know. And Wallace goes, oh yeah, that nuclear scientist we just met in the hall. And Davis goes, ha ha, all right, they didn't go to college, they didn't go to Smith. And he goes, go to Smith, she couldn't even spell it, which is just a serious roast on its own.
He's just being brutal.
And this girl that they meet in the hall is
I'm sure.
is just the dumbest, ditziest girl. And so he's already just like, no, not even worth my time.
For sure.
Well, is it that same girl that says that like, well, I like that, and without so much as a kiss on my foot or have an apple or some shit like that?
Some weird shit like that. So.
And I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And
it's just,
and there's so many lines in here that it's like oh wait, that's an insult, or wait, they're back and forth between each other are really quick.
It is.
And really well done, to where you kind of have to pay attention, and then you're like, oh, that was savage.
Yeah.
Oh damn, like
Right.
killing him right now. Holy shit.
Yep.
But yeah, I one of the ones I like is Phil talking to General Waverly, and I don't remember what precedes it or what leads up to it, but he goes, Phil goes, we wouldn't be any good as generals. He's like, yeah, you guys weren't any good as privates or something like that. Yeah. Like the back and forth again, just being amazing. Another one I like is when they meet the sisters, or when they see the sisters, and obviously they're two gorgeous girls, and how they're kind of introduced or told that about these two sisters is by the sister's brother, and
who they were in the army with.
Helping out an old
pal in the army.
Yeah.
Yep.
Old freckle face.
And
Yep.
And he goes, he sees the girls and they're talking about the brother, and Phil goes, how can a guy that ugly have the nerve to have sisters? And Bob responds, very brave parents, I guess.
Yeah. See, it's just those random, like, you're like, damn.
Kill him
Ouch.
right now. Jesus.
Ouch.
I would not expect that from someone in the 50s, I guess.
Yeah, and another one that I really liked, and Molly and I were talking about this the other night, and it made us laugh when we were watching it. But the general at the end, he's there. You know, they want him to be in his military dress to go out to the party and everything, and she got rid of all of his suits, so that's all he could wear. His wife, the general's wife.
I don't think it's his wife, it's his housekeeper, and they don't really actually
is
say
it?
if they're romantically involved. She just is basically
don't.
the keeper of the inn.
Oh.
But there is kind of a, I mean,
It's
how
kind of
they
implied
bicker back and
that
forth.
they're like
Yeah.
an old married couple,
Yeah.
but it's
Well,
not.
this line is what made me think that they were
Yeah.
they were a married couple. He goes, she's like, says something about, you know, having to dress him or whatever, and he's like, I got along very well in the army without you, and she's like, yeah, and it took 15,000 men to take my place.
Yeah.
I just love that line. It's like it's what I could picture my grandparents saying to each other.
Oh yeah.
Like like as an insult to each other, kind of just giving each other shit. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good a good line back and forth.
Agreed.
Another one that we laughed at was when Phil has to pretend that his leg is all messed up.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, he's trying to downplay it and make it not seem so serious, but still keep the general away from the TV so they can announce the big party on the Ed Harris show that they're going to be having at the inn to try to save the inn. And he describes an injury after, falling down the stairs. And he's like, well, do you think it's broken? He's like, oh, it's probably just a small internal muscular hemorrhage, sir. I think I'll be fine.
Which we were just like, I don't even think that's a real thing.
Real. This movie needs more credit. It's a lot better than what I think. Because initially like I said before, when I first heard about this, you told me about it. And like, you should watch it with me. I'm like, okay. And we watched it, and I expected like a really drawl and a really boring 1950s movie that is just not good. But it is actually a really good movie. Like it's really well done, and the script, whoever wrote it and whoever had these lines decided to be said by the actors. It was brilliant. So
yeah, you got a lot of comic relief, especially from Phil Davis, Danny Kaye's character. So it's all pretty, like we said before, you just really have to listen to it or else you're going to miss a lot of the dialogue, and they're very quick when they talk, which I think was pretty common back then, is to talk really fast. So
have really quick-witted comebacks.
Yes.
Was there any other quotes that you had for it?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So one of the ones that I loved was the so they basically they just had planned that they were going to move the show to Vermont in the little barn deal, and Bing Crosby's character, what's his name?
Bob Wallace.
Bob. So Bob calls the production company in New York City to say, like, let's fucking move everything from there to here. How much is it going to cost? And he goes, oh, wow. Okay. And then the other guy's like, how much is wow? Like, stop it. How much is wow? And Bing goes, well, it's right in between ouch and boing.
Yeah. Well, because you think, because he was even like, give everyone extra week's
my
pay.
pay.
And I'm just like, dang, he's over here just, left and right, not even thinking about what they have in the bank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's pretty generous. And then, because right before that, I mean, they had just mentioned that they gave everyone a week off paid for the holidays.
Right.
Yep.
And I think someone even notes that that's the nicest fucking thing that anyone has ever done in the industry.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, and it's mentioned multiple times. Phil mentions how expensive the taste of Bob is, and like the stuff that he decides to do, how expensive it's going to be, and how much money it's going to cost. It's the back and forth between the two, the chemistry between the two is really great.
Right.
Molly, any more?
I think that's it.
Cool. So let's see here. Why don't we talk about the scenes, our favorite scenes?
Say hello to our favorite scene.
And now our favorite scene.
For me, my favorite scenes is probably, if you've ever seen The White Christmas, one of the most iconic ones is when Phil Davis and Bob Wallace dress up as the Haynes sisters to try and give the girls a head start. They're trying to run away from the sheriff, who's trying to, sue them basically for burning a hole in their rug. So, which makes me think, I'm like, how are they like gonna get into like actual trouble with the law for these girls, and they don't even really know them? It just does not seem very likely. But
I mean, it just shows how hard Phil is pushing for Bob to get in a relationship and form a, because when they sit down and start watching the girls, it's like there's hints dropped at how pretty they are and how good at their job and stuff they are. So I think it's Phil's like, I'm gonna go to any length to get you hooked up with this girl.
So yeah, if you've ever seen the movie, you see Bob Wallace and Phil Davis dress up as the girls when they're putting on their number at this club and doing their routine, their sister's routine. And of course, you've got the recording of the girls singing, and you've got the two guys that are kind of dressed up and
lip syncing to it. And it's just kind of a funny scene. You could tell that the actors are actually having a good time themselves, because it almost looks like they kind of break character a little bit and are just having a good time. Right. Yeah, and I got some stuff in the trivia about that as well. It's really genuine, like, fun that they're having up there, which is cool to see. I like the sleep conversation by the fire, and that song that he sings,
Counting Your Blessings.
Counting Your Blessings.
That's another one of my favorites.
A really good song, and it just. That's really what sparks their relationship and what gets them to realize that they're kind of falling for each other.
Yeah.
The one sister and
That one would be Betty.
Betty.
That's Rosemary Clooney's.
Yeah, yeah.
And she has just such a great voice.
And she's gorgeous. And yeah, her singing is just phenomenal. It's funny because like the two sisters they got, one of them is a really good, like the actresses, one's a really good singer, one's a really good dancer. And then the opposite is one is a really bad dancer, the one that's a good singer is a really bad dancer, and the one that's a really good dancer is a just abysmal singer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that scene by the fire when they kind of first realize their feelings for each other is one of my favorites. I like that one a lot.
And then, of course, you have the ending where it all kind of comes together and they sing the White Christmas. And that I was always like, oh, it's Christmas.
She kind of like realizes that like he wasn't, putting on this show for a big publicity stunt for money. And she randomly shows up, the sister randomly shows up and Bing Crosby sees her and they do the number together. And he realizes like, oh, she came back for me.
It is kind of a cheesy romantic comedy.
Yeah, for sure. Dylan?
Yeah, there's a few of them. I like the initial scene between the two where the sandwich scene. I like the dialogue between the two. And it's cool that they were kind of like each of they're her sister and his friend. I mean, they kind of push them together. I mean, it was smart and cunning to do that. Their dialogue in betwixt each other.
In betwixt.
And the first like the dress rehearsal that they do in Vermont, that fucking blew me away.
Yeah,
I mean,
the dress rehearsals are cool.
I mean, all the amount of dancing and music that goes into it, I mean, is fucking, it's nuts, and I love it. And I hate to admit that too, that
It's cool though.
I'm supposed to be a gruff, grown ass, badass man. That I mean,
I want you to tell me who you think views you that way.
No one. A small part of my subconscious, like, don't admit to people that you
Would
love
it make you feel better if I
choreography,
viewed
right?
you in that light, Dylan?
No, and I don't want
to.
to come off that way. But I mean, also, it's a guilty pleasure of
For sure.
watching, things like this, which.
I mean, I enjoy some musicals. There's some musicals that are really, really
I'm glad
good.
you said the word musical because I had a revelation after watching this movie. I think it was this morning. It was one of my shower thoughts. I fucking hate.
Right.
I hate musicals.
I'm
I don't
not
like
a
them.
fan.
Really?
It depends.
But I don't think this is a musical.
I don't really think.
Oh, it's 100% a musical.
No, it's not. It's same reason
they're singing lines.
that movies that we've covered in the past, like Rockstar and School of Rock, they're not musicals because it's just a movie. And they're just filming the part where they're singing and dancing. Whereas movies like The Little Fucking Mermaid or fucking Aladdin, like they're just walking down the street and then the whole fucking community breaks out in song and dance. That's a fucking musical. That's unrealistic and I fucking hate it.
That's fair. I view it as a musical because like they're
Because it has songs in it?
No. Shut your fucking mouth.
And some of those songs are built into the movie.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like they'll be in the middle, like they're in the dinner car at the fucking
I can see.
And they're having like lunch, they're having like dinner together, and someone brings up snow and is like, let's do a musical number about this, and boom, they're singing about snow. Like there's a lot of things where they won't be doing anything that relates to like music wise, and then boom, a song breaks out, and then a whole number is done with dancing and stuff with them.
I'll admit, and the reason that I forgot about those is because when that happens, my cell phone immediately like just magically pops up in front of my face, and I start looking at something else.
Because you're not a fan of the musical numbers.
I don't like it. No.
Nightmare Before Christmas. What about that? Like, do you dig on that?
I start folding laundry, or my
The
my
Pick of
phone
Destiny
magically.
is a musical. It literally everything.
Is it the content? Because the content matters.
Yeah, and maybe the songs.
This is a
I don't
good
know.
debate that I don't mind having because maybe there's a fine line like La La Land. I know you haven't seen it, but La La Land is like that's where like it's ensembles of like they'll be walking down the street and then the entire group around them joins in.
And
but
I
like,
don't
would
like
you
that.
consider Blues Brothers a musical? I mean, that's got to be a musical.
I guess it depends on how much the movie is based around the music, because White Christmas to me does not feel like a true musical because it's not just about the music. La La Land I feel like is a lot about the music, and all the other musicals, they're really based around the dancing and the singing, where, as some movies they just sprinkle in some of that stuff. So I guess it depends on what scale of the musical you think it is, because some are very light musically, and there's some that are very heavy, like, Aladdin and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So
I guess just because the movie is called White Christmas and it's based off of the song White Christmas.
I would say that it is slightly a musical.
A
One of the
movie
first
musical, I guess.
musicals.
Yeah.
I do have a friend that's really into musicals, and you'd never
But you think
guess
like
it.
Hamilton, that's a musical.
Yeah.
My brother is big into musicals. Loves
Really?
musicals. Yeah, absolutely loves musicals. Like he like kept pushing me to get into La La Land and The Greatest Showman and Hamilton and stuff like that. And I just haven't. But like I don't mind a good musical. Like Grease. Grease was really good. That was a
The
musical.
Labyrinth is a musical.
Did not like
Ish.
that about Labyrinth. Didn't
Ish.
like it.
I wouldn't say that it's a full blown musical.
I don't
'cause
like
when
the
you say
songs in it,
Hamilton,
but-
you're like, that's a musical. But when
Right.
you think of the Labyrinth, you're like, that's just David Bowie with a big crotch.
Yeah,
Like,
Little
that's,
Shop of Horrors, and I mean,
like
there's a lot of
Rocky
them.
Horror Picture Show. That's
Rocky
a
Horror
musical.
Picture- yeah, 100%.
I think it's just to what degree is it a musical?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the ratio of music to
Yes.
movie?
If anybody's listening to this, please let us know what you think along the lines of what is considered a musical and what's considered just a film with
I
music
mean, what does
in it.
Google
Right.
say? What is a musical? I guess I could look.
Yeah, you should check that out. There's because then there's Disney movies where every Disney movie has like 3 or 4 songs that are just bangers in it.
I just had a thought because you ask about Pick of Destiny, and that's a movie, and it's not where they just up and start singing in the middle of things. It's almost like a cutaway scene of a music video.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
according to Google's dictionary, a musical is a play or movie in which singing and dancing play an essential part. Musicals developed from light opera in the early 20th century.
Essential could be considered subjective, but I suppose White Christmas would if you take the music away from it, it's not the same movie.
No.
That is true.
And when,
that
and
makes
when you
sense.
pick when the people you pick to put in the movie are all very musically like
True dat.
talented. Like Bing Crosby is known as one of the better like
He's a crooner.
crooners like ever. Like and like the sisters, one of them is a noteworthy dancer in history. Like a very well known.
Oh
like
yeah,
the,
her in
the
that
girl
tap
had
dancing scene.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was human. I thought that it was a special effect, and they sped
Nope.
it up a bit.
No,
Yeah,
that is
dude,
her
it's crazy.
dancing,
Yeah, Vera Ellen was one of the most known dancers at that time.
and she is teeny because of it.
Yeah, she had a what was the deal with her? An eating disorder or something?
I think
with
that was a
it, or-
big rumor, but a lot of people thought that she had an eating disorder because
She
of
was just
how
really in
how
shape
tiny
and-
she was.
yeah.
But
She is so tiny in the movie. Like you could, I feel like I could just grab like her thigh with my 2
and that was
hands
pretty
grab-
common back then. I mean,
It's true.
there wasn't. My mom always says there wasn't any Mickey D's back then. So I mean, they danced and they were they looked like they danced.
Right.
So
So yeah, I mean, you've got these people who are cast probably solely because one of the reasons is because their musical ability. They're able to act as well, but their musical ability is something that was a huge turn on for this movie. So yeah, I mean the debate's open. Like I said, if anyone wants to throw their opinion in on that, leave us a message on Anchor or comment on
Wherever.
one of the
Yeah.
posts that we post this about. So yeah, that the back to the scene. The conversation by the fire. You said the White Christmas when they were singing
Yep.
White Christmas at the
at
end.
the very end, yep.
And then I love because I said it earlier. This song is a banger. Is the "I Wish I Was Back in the Army" song at the end when the general realizes that they did the whole show for him, and they do that whole number, and that's when Betty shows up and does the part with him. I love that part. That scene's awesome. That whole musical number is great. So yeah, I almost called you Isaiah, Dylan. I miss Isaiah. That's why.
That's a compliment, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah, no, Isaiah's a very handsome guy. Dylan, you got any other scenes?
Yeah, there's something I kind of want to discuss a little bit, and it goes into one of the, like Molly mentioned, the ending scene. What I really like about the ending is when they sing White Christmas for, what is it, the second time? They sing it fucking differently. The first time they sing at the very beginning of the movie, and they're on the battlefield, and White Christmas is pretty it's pretty somber. It's very melancholy,
Right.
and it's like I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Like I
wish I was
don't want
home
the Christmas
and-
I have fucking now, and I'm dreaming of that Christmas over there, and I want it.
Yeah.
But at the end, it's same fucking song, but they don't
Different
sing it the same way.
context. Yeah.
And I love it when.
That's a very interesting view, Dylan. I've never thought of that.
Thanks.
Yep.
I really love it when the same movie or even different movies play the same song written by the same fucking person, but
Yeah.
just put a twist on it. and it makes you completely hear the song differently.
Because the second time they sing the White Christmas, they do want a White Christmas because it's Vermont. There's no snow, and they need the business, and then they get the White Christmas at the end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's an interesting take.
There's some movies that do that, and it's really it's a show. It's a sign of a really good writer. When they
one
can
of
do that.
my favorite is, and I don't know if I've mentioned it on an episode previous or not, but the movie Singing in the Rain. Singing in the Rain, it's fucking happy, right? You're singing in the rain. Like, I don't give a fuck if it's raining outside. It's raining. I'm happy.
Yeah.
That same song is in
Clockwork
Clockwork Orange.
Orange.
Whilst they are raping a person.
Yep, they're beating and raping two people. And, and they're dancing around singing in the rain.
Oh.
Yeah, and you can't like I cannot listen to Singing in the Rain without thinking about that. Now they
Clockwork
fucking
Orange.
ruined that song for me.
They absolutely did. Yep. I was hoping that I thought you were talking about how the song was in the same movie, like the different versions of the same song in the same movie.
In the same movie and without.
When this was, it's sung completely different in Clockwork Orange compared to Singing in the Rain. So
right. So I mean, I think if I had it, I only watched the first half of the movie, or I've only heard one version of White Christmas. I would always think that White Christmas, it's a sad Christmas song.
Oh, okay.
Which is awesome. I love
it.
sad Christmas songs because Christmas isn't always fucking happy. I mean, there's a lot of people that that aren't super fucking happy over the holidays, either because they recently lost a loved one, or it's the first holiday since they've lost a loved one. So I think music like that is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Or you can listen to the ending version of the song where it's a little bit more happy.
Yeah.
Right. Another movie that plays a song that makes me hear a song differently is, and you might disagree with me or might knock me for it, but Rob Zombie's The Devil's Rejects. At the very end, everyone's getting all shut up, and it's the end of the movie, and your favorite characters are dying. He's playing Freebird,
right?
Which is, to me, Freebird is like it's a Southern rock fucking anthem, and they rock and roll the whole fucking time. So you think that they're gonna live through it, but no, they fucking die. So Freebird for me has been ruined because Rob Zombie put it in that place at that time.
So there's that version of Freebird that that reminds you of that. Whenever I hear Freebird, a throwback to talking about Forrest Gump, I think of Jenny standing on the edge of the edge of the balcony
cliff.
Thinking about killing herself after she's all messed up on drugs and probably just slept with a guy and got paid for it in drugs to do so. And she's hit her rock bottom, and she's about. So whenever I hear Freebird, I think of Jenny standing on the edge of the. So yeah, one cool thing and one thing I love about movies and music in movies is that it can take you to a completely different place depending on the actual. What's the word that I want to use? I guess how the song is placed in the movie. It can take you to a completely different place.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we all view different songs in movies differently depending on how.
What's portrayed versus what is its intended use for. So
yeah, that's crazy. That's a good point, Dylan. I like that. So yeah, any other scenes you guys want to do? Any scenes you want to talk about?
I think we covered the ones I want to.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Let's see here. So before we get into trivia, what would your rating of this one be, honey?
Can we talk about favorite characters?
Oh yeah. Let's talk about our favorite characters. Yeah, go ahead. Who's your favorite?
I kind of like all four. Phil Davis is probably my favorite because he's funny. He's got a lot of those quick one-liners that you kind of really have to listen for, and just his comedic, over-the-top caricature of himself sometimes is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Bob Wallace, you gotta love Bing Crosby. He's kind of a classic, and he kind of comes off as this kind of all business, no nonsense guy at first, but then he kind of starts to warm up when he wants to help the general and stuff like that.
You see his soft side and kind of his romantic side and stuff too.
And then out of the two sisters, Betty Haynes is probably my favorite. I just thought she was really pretty. Her voice was really, beautiful. And, she wasn't like your typical Hollywood girl, I think, just because, I don't know, she had a very unique look.
Well, around that time was like Marilyn Monroe and trying to think of other actresses at the time. The Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz.
Judy Garland and stuff. I kind of compare Rosemary Clooney to those, and then what's her name's mom in Psycho.
Oh my god, dude! from
yeah.
Halloween.
Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis's
Jamie Lee
mom.
Curtis's mom in Psycho. All those girls kind of remind me of each other, and the job they do and the type of like acting that they do around that time period. But yeah, she was definitely not. I think she was set apart from all those other people because of her singing talent and her acting talent. Like all together, she was kind of the whole package.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, out of the sisters, she's for sure my favorite.
Nothing against Vera Ellen or anything, but I think she was more of a side character anyway. The second sister, not that she didn't do a good job or anything, but it really kind of focuses more on Betty and Bob. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you'd say Phil and Betty were probably your two.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. See, I think I like Bob a lot because he's more thinking along the lines of business for a lot of things. But then, like I said before, like you end up seeing when it's worth it. His romantic side and his caring side comes out. I also really like the general. Like I really like the general. Out of everyone, he's probably one of my favorites. He was just his character that he played was fun, and it was also serious. But you could see the military side of him, and also this old guy who's still trying to capture his youth and wants to go back into the army and is basically told thanks but no thanks.
And that was a sad scene too, is when Bing Crosby goes and gets the mail, and General Waverly's waiting for a letter from the army because he's like, I want to get back out there, I want to help train. I feel more comfortable being in the army than I am, than being retired. Right. And he just comes to find out that the army kind of just laughed at that and was just like, oh, we envy you and you retiring, and we can't wait till we get to go. And so it's kind of sad to see him just get kind of shut down. And so,
it's really sad because he's I don't remember. I think it's Bob. It was like, hey, it's something about horseshoes. And he's like, oh, no, that's an old man's game. That's a retired old man's game. I'll never get into it. And then after he gets the letter and sees that he wasn't accepted back into the army, he's like, oh, maybe I'll take a swing at this this game of horseshoes or whatever. It's kind of sad. But, yeah, he was he did a really good job as an actor in that film. It was awesome. So, Dylan, you got any characters you enjoy?
I don't think I have a favorite. But Bing's character is really good. The one thing it kind of bugged me a little bit is when he was up there performing, it looked very forced. It didn't look, I don't know. He wasn't as like limber and like legit happy as Danny, as Phil was.
And I don't know if he's necessarily as big of a dancer either.
Right. I think Phil Davis. I think Danny Kaye is.
I'm not sure how old more of a performer was when this movie came out. I don't know.
50s.
50s.
I'm guessing.
I'm too old for this shit.
I'm guessing. Because that was another thing that kind of bugged me a little bit was the age gap.
Yeah.
In between.
You can definitely tell he's much older than the girls.
Because I think he was in his 50s and she was in her 20s.
So he was born in 1903. So if this was in 54, then 50s for sure. And
1903. Can you? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He's
born at a
3
different
years
time,
separated from being born in the 1800s.
Right.
Dude.
Right. Well, and I think he's only a few months older than the general was too.
Oh, really?
You might be right with that.
Okay. Even though the general was supposed to be much older, right? But
agreed.
I don't know. When he performed, he gave me this what I imagined before he had Danny up there or Phil. Is that he was more of like a Frank Sinatra guy. Just standing up there with a mic and just fucking jamming out. But then he gets Phil up there with him, his partner, and then they fucking. They put on a show.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I like Phil. I like Phil. I love the beginning part of the movie when he's constant. Like anytime he wants something, he just holds his arm. Like, ooh, oh man, I hurt my arm that time. I saved your life.
I wouldn't want you to feel obligated.
Right.
Yeah.
And then of course Bob tells Betty, if you're ever standing in front of a falling building and if someone tries to, save you from it, just spit in their eye or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just very old timey.
She's like, what does that mean? He's like, it means we're going to Vermont.
Yeah. Which makes me wonder, is would you really feel that obligated to do all that for someone who saved your life?
I don't know, man. If someone saved my life, there would be very little that I wouldn't do for that person.
Mm-hmm.
But constantly?
At some point it'd be like, hey, I really appreciate that you saved my life and everything, but I'm not going to dedicate the rest of my life to doing whatever you want me to do.
Which brings up
because of
another
it.
point, and Tyler always brings this up when we watch this movie, is that if he would have just said this or she would have just said that, then they wouldn't have this huge argument
Yeah.
or huge misunderstanding. So
Well, like at the end, like she like blows him off and completely leaves, and almost screws up the production and stuff to go do her own thing, just because she misheard something that was said over a phone that was misheard by somebody else, and instead of just going to Bob and being like, "Hey, what are you guys doing with this?"
Yeah.
And Bob would have easily just been like, "Hey, keep it on the down low, but we're doing the show for the general to try to bring back some attendance at the inn and really help out his business, and we're not going to take a penny for it." That, and I get it's a movie; it would have cut out about an
99%
hour
of all
of
movies
the,
are just like all conflict, so no communication, no
yeah.
movie.
Every time something happens in the movie when we watch it, I'm just like, if you would have fucking communicated and you would have spoke your mind and told him what you were thinking, you wouldn't have had this problem. But it does make for good theater and good movie.
The movie would have been a lot shorter.
Yeah, and that's what I don't like about people saying shit like that. Like, well, if they would have just done this, well, then there wouldn't be a fucking movie.
The worst one is,
There wouldn't be a
and
goddamn
Molly's-
thing.
And Molly said it before, is I'll be talking about Lord of the Rings. Why didn't they just ride the eagles?
Oh, he hates when I bring that up.
I was like, because that's not the fucking point of the movie. It's
they're trying
it's
to-
about the adventure.
'Cause
It's about
he's got all these eagles, and why can't they just take him to Mordor?
because they're a proud race on their own. They're not a taxi service.
So you're telling me that Gandalf's just like, nah, do it yourself, bro.
Yeah. He's like he
I'm
he
gonna
only
dip
calls
out of
on,
this movie or this trilogy of movies like 800 times, and you can just fend for yourself, and then I'll randomly show up.
He only calls on the eagles in the most dire situations to where life could be lost.
Then why
and-
did the Eagles the first time just take them all the way to where they needed to go?
Because they're not a taxi service.
Anyway, sorry, Tyler.
No, it's stupid that you would even think that way. But yeah, but yeah, there's in every movie that you could watch, you'd be like, well, if they would have done it this way, then this would, and then you're like, yeah, they would have cut an hour and a half out of the movie, and we'd have been out of the theater in 10 minutes. So,
Right.
but yeah,
I wrote this really good story where this guy comes to kill everybody, but they had too good of a security system, so he
goes
just kind of
home.
left. The end. You like it?
fantastic.
Why wouldn't they just have a better security system for their house?
Because then there wouldn't have been a fucking movie. So yeah, I guess character wise, I think we're good on that then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ranking. What would you give this out of 10, my dear?
Considering the fact that it's an older movie and that there's a lot of like oopses and mistakes and errors you can see in the movie, like at one point I think Judy is holding a coffee, or you see her put the coffee pot down, and then in the next scene she's holding the coffee pot again. Like there
Oh,
was a
really?
lot of like
Editing flub.
editing errors in that my mom points out every single time we watch
Do
it.
you do things like that take you out of a movie?
It's kind of distracting because they were so blatantly like
Yeah, if they're-
wow. So that kind of irritated me, and with that fact of it just being older and not as modern, not as high of a ranking as I would, such as I gave Forrest Gump. So I would say like an 8 out of 10 as a good movie. It's a good classic. It's something we watch every year. It's got the
Right.
good feels. It's got the music. It's got the actors. So
Yeah, you're kind of around what I would give it, and for similar reasons, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 8 or out of 10. 7.5 out of 10 because it is an older movie. Some of the points kind of don't hit home. There's parts that were not necessary. Like, what was that whole like rehearsal they did where there was no words? It was just dancing for
okay,
like
I don't know because
15 minutes straight.
I just fast forward through it the whole time.
It's no joke, like almost 20 minutes of just dancing with nothing being said, and then after that, it just like they're just like, "Hey, that was good. We'll use that," and then they just don't talk about it again. Nothing happens, and they don't use it in the final show at all.
Well, I think they just don't want to repeat anything.
Yeah.
You've already seen it.
Silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it does get a little bit of a higher score just because it is a classic. It was a 50s movie that was remastered because of the way they filmed it, and it looks really good today. It doesn't look as good as movies that we're watching today, but it looks really good for a 50s movie.
Yeah.
And around the holidays, there's not much better films to watch to get in the Christmas spirit.
There are a lot of Christmas classics, and depending upon your family out there,
Right.
some people like Miracle on 34th Street,
The Grinch.
The Grinch, Santa Claus. I mean, there's a lot of good Christmas flicks out there. I mean, tons. As long as you're not watching the Hallmark Channel and you're watching the good stuff.
Yeah. 100%. And and Molly can attest to this, I'm not the biggest fan of the Christmas season or the Christmas. I'm a Halloween guy. But when Christmas comes around, I think because I married into it, I start to get into it more. I start to enjoy it more and want to watch. Like, we watched Elf together because that's a yearly thing that we kind of do together as well. And, you know, I really enjoy The Grinch with Jim Carrey, although Molly doesn't. I enjoy The Grinch with Jim Carrey.
I like the classic Grinch.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. With Tim Curry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, they're all good to watch around this time. But this is one of them. And that's why I give it a little bit of a higher ranking. It's because it's something that I can watch every year when the Christmas season rolls around, and it's good for that. So, Mr. Dylan, what do you think for the ranking?
Don't hate me. 6.5.
Oh, you know, that's better than I thought you would.
Yeah, that's I thought you were going to be.
It's a good
fours.
movie. I mean, the fact that it came out in 1954 and I watched it in the year of our Lord 2021. I mean,
Okay.
I mean the fucking that of itself. I mean it has stood the test of time.
Right.
I mean it's a good fucking movie. Would I have watched it without Molly wanting to do it for the pod? No, probably never would have watched
I don't
it.
blame you.
Well, and I wouldn't have watched it if I didn't marry her. And but I'm glad that I did, though. I'm glad that I did watch it.
I'm so fucking glad that I watched the movie because it's not a shit movie. It's definitely a good movie. Right. And
a little corny, but yeah, feel good.
But yeah,
that's the 50s for you, though.
Right. I mean, it's I don't know, and the fact that they promoted the whole VistaVision as much as they did, and I stand by it because
I think that's cool.
Because it's a good looking film for being as old as it is.
That's a good looking film.
That's a good looking film right there.
Here's $50 to make a fiddle.
I knew someone was gonna say it, but like at the end when they got like the bright red like Santa costumes and everything on them, like this looks beautiful. Like this is a beautiful like the color and the visuals at the end were fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So 6. You said 6. What was it? 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5.
That wasn't as specific as your other one, which was
6.
I was gonna say 6.7, but I don't know. It was a lot of sing. There was a lot of sing-songy.
Split the difference. 6.6. 6. Number of the Beast.
No, I did that for another movie.
You did. I don't remember which one it was.
Real dark.
This went down a hole. Okay, so cool. That's we got your ranking for that. So let's do the death count. I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
There isn't a death count for this one.
What trivia do you have?
Yeah. So how about we just dive into the trivia then? I've got a bit here, not quite as much as I've had before, just because, and we talked about this on the way over here today, Molly and I did, there's a lot of things in the 50s that this trivia is based off of that I just I can't relate to, I don't understand, it doesn't have an impact on me. I'm sure that Dylan's neighbor is going to be listening to this and will be like, why didn't you cover that crazy part back in the 50s?
Poor Dylan's neighbor.
Shout out to I love Dylan's neighbor. I'm really glad that he listens.
Does Dylan's neighbor have a name?
He's got one.
What's his name?
His name's Rich.
I don't think you've ever told me. If you would have told me his name, I would have said it. But thank you, Rich. Shout out to Rich for watching this.
That's not how he sounds.
I hope you don't sound like that, Rich. But no, I appreciate you listening to the episodes that you do listen to. I love it. But yeah. So
God.
For trivia, let's
Thanks,
dive
I'm
into
gonna
that.
get my house fucking egged now.
Worth it.
I'm gonna walk out to go to work and all the tires are gonna be fucking flat.
No, he's gonna be tickled that I talked about him. He's gonna love that I mentioned him.
Or they talked about me on the radio show.
On that radio program. Let me turn up my device and listen. No, So according to Rosemary Clooney, the midnight snack scene in which Bob Wallace expounds on his theory of what foods cause what dreams was almost entirely improvised by Bing Crosby, which is
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Interesting. According to Rosemary Clooney, Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye's sister performance was not originally in the script. They were clowning around on the set, and director Michael Curtis thought it would be so funny that he decided to start filming it. In the scene, Crosby's laughs are genuine and unscripted, as he was unable to hold a straight face due to Kaye's comedic dancing, which is hilarious. Clooney said the filmmakers had a better take where Crosby didn't laugh, but when they ran them both through, people liked the laughing version and the more candid version better.
Yeah.
which
Agreed.
I think it worked out for the best.
I think that scene was great. That was funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious. For the song "Gee, I Wish I Was Back in the Army," there's a lyric. There is the lyric, "Jolson, Hope, and Benny all for free." This is a reference to the 3 wartime entertainers: Al Johnson, Bob Hope, and Jack Benny.
Oh.
The original words were Crosby, Hope, and Jolson all for free, but the lyric was changed because Bing Crosby being in the cast would have broke the fourth wall. Because Bing Crosby was known as one of the guys who were wartime entertainers that would go out and entertain the troops and stuff like that. So, yeah, so they changed the lyrics up a little bit, but, basically talking about him, being a wartime entertainer, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
White Christmas in 1954 was the first film photographed in Paramount's widescreen VistaVision process. A radical departure from the other widescreen formats of the era, VistaVision did not extend the width of the screen as much as it raised the height, which produced a significantly clearer image. Not surprisingly, the 100 or so films shot in VistaVision, notably High Society in 1956, North by Northwest in 1959, and then White Christmas, have provided the most vivid clarity when transferred to high-definition home videos today. As VistaVision applied the same principle and was, in effect, the first experiment in high definition. So the high definition we see today probably wouldn't exist without the VistaVision experiment done for these movies, which is cool.
Which is that? So when you watch White Christmas, let's say, like on Tyler's super fancy TV, would it look cooler in 4K then?
Yeah, absolutely.
So then Bing Crosby's eyes would just like burn into
Blind
your
you.
I
retinas.
don't think that there would be any difference between like your high definition 1080p to 4K.
It still
I don't think
upgrades
4K
it
is
to
gonna-
ultra HD, but it's not full 4K. It would look a little better, but it wouldn't be like full 4K or anything like that. But yeah, for sure. I mean, the colors are just more vibrant, and the darks are more dark. Yeah. But yeah, it looks great. You can definitely tell it's an older movie, but it still looks fantastic.
Right.
Looks great.
So, in an interview with Rosemary Clooney, once quipped that that this could have been a near perfect movie if they would have only dubbed her dancing, which is what I was talking about earlier. She's a great vocalist, but a god awful dancer. And then the other way around, the other sisters.
How do you dub dancing?
I think it was.
I think it was a joke. Yeah, I think it was, and I think that it was also a reference to the fact that
I get it.
Rosemary Clooney revealed that 1, she took the role mostly so that she could perform with Bing Crosby. 2, Danny Kaye caused many retakes when his antics had everyone on the set laughing, and he wasn't supposed to be making them laugh. She considered "Love You Didn't Do Right by Me" as her song because it was her only solo in the movie, which is weird because they brought her in because of how good of a vocalist and how good of a singer she is, and they only gave her like one solo. After the final shot, where they informed that they would be redoing the finale because the King and Queen of Greece would be visiting on set, and the producer wanted to give them something to remember, they reshot the entire final sequence with no film in the camera and without Bing Crosby there, who had skipped out to go play golf. In years later, she and Bing recorded several record-breaking albums together.
Wow. I knew that they were friends after the movie because I know that they would go on tour together like in the 80s and the 90s. So
I was always like, oh, they would be a really cute couple, but I didn't know that Rosemary Clooney was actually married.
She was,
so
yes.
she wouldn't. Yeah. One of the dancers accompanying Rosemary is George Chakiris. He went on to win the Academy Award for Best Actor in a Supporting Role as Bernardo in West Side Story.
I did know that.
Another reason why I brought that up, yeah, it's super interesting. Another reason that I brought that up is because they just redid West Side Story with I think I don't remember the director, big director, huge director, but he just did
The director for West Side Story.
the new West Side Story. Yeah.
Oh, the new one. Okay.
Yeah, it's not George Lucas. That's hilarious that I just said that. The
Please
Star
take
Wars
that
director is the one that did it. No, it was Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, yep. Okay, I said it before you didn't tell me. He directed the new one. It's supposedly really good. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up. This was 1954's most successful film. The second most successful film was The Caine Mutiny, which featured Rosemary Clooney's husband, Jose Ferrier. Although this
Which would be George Clooney's uncle.
Yep.
Good job.
Because she's
Thanks.
your deduction is brilliant for that.
That's why we have Dylan.
I don't know how you draw the lines that you do, man. You are fucking brilliant.
I'm a genius.
I'm so glad I have you here.
It's a well-known secret.
Yeah. A well-known secret. Oh, this is interesting. Although this movie musical,
Oh.
so this is listed on IMDb as a movie musical. Huh.
As opposed to just musical.
Or just movie, yeah.
Or a musical movie.
Hybrid.
Right. It's been beloved. It's been a beloved favorite over the decades, especially at Christmas time. And there's never been, which is strange because every movie has a soundtrack, but this movie that focused on the music a lot never had an original soundtrack album released in any form whatsoever. So you can't go look on Spotify and be like, I want to listen to the White Christmas album or the White Christmas soundtrack, and it'll pop. There's nothing for it.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know. It's strange because the
I'm
songs
sure
are good.
in today's age, I'm sure you could make one because you can share like Spotify playlists and
Right.
shit like that. So
I mean,
I
I
don't
guess
know,
if you
but
want to
that's
take
weird that
directly
no one-
from the movie.
it's weird
Right.
that no one has capitalized from that idea.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially considering Bing Crosby is like a
Yeah.
incredibly, famous and high dollar singer. You'd think that he would jump right on that.
I'll tell you, if Mariah Carey can fart out a Christmas album every year and it sells millions, they could do a White Christmas soundtrack, and I bet it would sell like crazy. So
Oh yeah.
I was thinking about that. So, I mean, because White Christmas was a well-known Christmas song before the movie. They
Right.
made the movie around the fucking
that
song. Mariah Carey is gonna make a movie.
No.
She's gonna do it. I can feel it. Psychic predictions.
Well, I think she's listening, so now she will.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna need to. I don't know if I'll ever be able to bring my buys back from that dramatic eye roll that I just gave you when you said Mariah Carey was gonna make a movie. Let's hope not.
History is damned to repeat itself. So Mariah
it
Carey's. Is it what?
Isn't it deemed to repeat itself?
Damned sound cooler.
It did. I'll give it to you. I'll allow it. So the Ed Harrison show, TV show. Christ, I've knocked it like 5 times. So the Ed Harrison TV show that Bob appears on is a reference to the Ed Sullivan Show in 1948, which featured known stars, new talents, and vaudeville acts. Ed Harrison was played by Johnny Grant, who did not have a long acting career in the movies, but was the honorary mayor of Hollywood, California, which is weird. He was a guy who officiated over every unveiling of the stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in the early 1960s until his death in 2008. So he was with.
Oh.
So until 2008, he was there every time that they revealed a new star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame because he was an honorary mayor
That's
of Hollywood,
cool.
California. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Random.
Yeah, for sure. So Judy was shorter than Betty in the movie. So in an effort to make their heights more even for the song numbers, although the shoes were matching, Judy's heels were much higher to be able to match the height, which I didn't know.
I didn't know, but that
was-
makes sense.
Yeah, right.
Is that a big deal? Is that a thing? In
It's probably
Dude.
just not to draw any attention from what you're watching, because I'm sure if you're going to be
Okay.
watching, you'll be like, damn, she's a lot shorter. And so
yeah,
just keep your focus on
that makes sense.
the song and the movie.
Right. So in Tropic Thunder, when they were Ben Stiller's notably like super short.
Yep.
Robert Downey Jr. is like 6'1" or something like that.
Oh wow.
So when there's a couple scenes where they're walking through the forest and they're the same height, they literally dug a trench out for
Oh my God.
Robert Downey to walk in so that they're the same height and so that there's not that much of a radical height difference between the two.
Can you
so it's done in
imagine-
movies often.
Can you imagine being the guy digging that trench, saying,
Like,
"Why
I'm
the
digging
like-
this so that those fucking assholes can be closer to height.
right?" But digging it like in every stroke, just going, "Why doesn't he wear fucking boots, asshole? Fucking guy won't wear fucking boots."
Right? Yeah.
I'm sure he's getting paid.
Oh yeah, handsomely. So this premiered at the famed Radio City Music Hall in New York City, which is a big theater for really popular movies and blockbusters to premiere at, and this was one of the first ones to premiere there, which was
Okay,
really
that's
cool.
cool.
Yeah. Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney both died at the same age. Both died at 74.
Oh.
Yeah, which is interesting. R.I.P. dog. Cast members Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney both have descendants in the Star Trek series. Bing's granddaughter, Denise Crosby, appeared in Star Trek The Next Generation, while Clooney's son, Miguel Ferrier, appeared in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Which is, if you think about it, it's super crazy that they both have descendants in the same type of, really fan-heavy, science fiction movie. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Rosemary Clooney's character is named Betty. This, in fact, was the name of her real-life sister, whom she also sang with.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, in the scene before the sister song, Judy and Betty are talking about their brother. Betty asks Judy if she read the letter from their mother that said that her brother has a job in Alaska and has been out of the country for 3 months. They said that and mentioned that because he was out of the country solely because Alaska wasn't a state and were like considered an actual state until January of 1959. So this was so old that Alaska wasn't a state in the United States.
Oh my god! So, how did they know? Did they call it Alaska even in '54? Then
They called it Alaska, yeah, but it was a different country. It was just a completely
It was
different country.
owned by Russia.
wow, yeah, I did know it was owned by Russia, but that's
Yeah.
In Soviet Russia, Alaska owns you.
that's
So this-
really cool.
Yeah, so it's such an old movie that literally it was before Alaska was a part of the
That's
United
crazy.
States. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Rosemary Clooney's sister, her sister Betty, her voice was used to dub over. Oh my gosh.
Vera Ellen.
Yep, her dubbed over her singing. There's only a couple lines that you hear her actual voice, like at the beginning of when they're on the train at the beginning of Snow.
Yeah.
Like that's her voice. But everything else that's sang is done by Rosemary Clooney's sister. Let's see here. This is crazy, and also totally it's the most 1950s thing that I've ever read. The snow that was used at the end of the film was actually straight up pure asbestos.
Nice.
Yeah, so they're just covering everyone in asbestos
Nice.
at the end of it. Last little bit I have here is, in spite of the title, posters, and the promo, it's only set at Christmas at the beginning and at the end of the movie. So they're in the war at the beginning, and it's on Christmas, and then the last shot where they're singing White Christmas is on Christmas when it's snowing. So there isn't any other. Those are the only two scenes in the entire movie
That's
that
Christmas
are
based.
that are Christmas based. The rest of it is about the relationship.
You know, I never thought about that. That's
Yeah,
very true.
Thought it was kind of weird for sure. So yeah, that's what I got for trivia. So yeah, I think that. Well, is there anything else you want to add? Anything? Any little bit of trivia that you know that I didn't bring up or anything?
Just that that is George Clooney's uncle, whoever that
Rosemary's husband.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was a little fun fact that I didn't know. I'm really glad that you
Yeah.
brought that up, Dylan.
I'm glad I could share that with you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. But yeah, again, I want to thank Molly for coming in and helping out with this. I really appreciate it. It's fun to come and talk about movies with you when we don't get to do that very often.
Thank you for having
so.
me, and hope everyone has a good holiday.
Yeah, have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everyone, and I'll catch you on the flip flop. See you.
Catch on the flip flop.
Thus concludes our Christmas episode and our last episode of the year. We've grown so much in so little time, and we couldn't have done it without you. Head over to our Facebook and Instagram at afterthecredits.tv and let us know what you'd like to hear this coming year. Special thanks to Molly, Tyrell, Joe, Josh, Isaiah, and Logan for coming down to the dungeon. We hope to have them all back soon and even more guests next year. We have so much planned and can't wait to share it with you. Visit our website, anchor.fm/afterthecreditstj, where you can hear past episodes and even leave us a voice recording. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else to stay up to date on everything we're doing. We love you more than Phil and Bob love Betty and Judy. That's a wrap.